call this meeting to order at 2 o'clock. Natalie, can we get land acknowledgement, please?
Before we get started with our meeting, Associated Students Incorporated at Sacramento State Associated Students Incorporated at Sacramento State would like to take a moment to give honor and respect to the ancestors and to the diverse indigenous people connected to this territory on which we meet. The original stewards on this land belong to Nishnawin, Prattween, and Miwok Native Americans. Keep them in your mind, carry them in your hearts, and we ask that you take a moment to consider your ancestors and your relationship to the land we are on. Thank you.
Thank you. Salma, can we get pledge of allegiance, please?
Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have a moment of silence? Lisa, can we get roll call, please?
Thank you. Jacob,
Present.
Kayla Garza-Garcia,
Here.
Budani,
Here.
Estrella,
Present.
Andrade Dominguez,
Present.
Ayugalan,
Present.
Nick Dow,
Here.
Meja Diaz,
Here.
Manchel,
Here.
Campbell,
Present.
Beltran,
Here.
Bullis,
Here.
Maria,
Here.
Bavar,
Checking.
Hebert,
Here.
Curry,
Here.
Gallardo,
Here.
Montalvo,
Here.
Lenmark,
Here.
Guerrero,
Present.
Gill, Reyes,
Here.
Walters,
Here.
Dalton, Rocha.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to be moving forward to approval of minutes for 11/23/2022 board meeting and 11/30/2022 working board meeting. Okay, so for the minutes of 11/23/2022 board meeting, are there any corrections? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved. Okay, now for 11/30/2022 working board meeting, are there any corrections? Okay, seeing none, they are approved. Now we're going to be moving forward to public comment. Members of the audience may address the board on any item within the jurisdiction of the board or on any agenda item. If you wish to address the board, please sign the speaker identification sheet. When you are called upon to speak, step forward to the podium and state your name and major clearly for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and the overall time is 15 minutes. Those wishing to speak on a non-agenda item will be called upon at the beginning of the meeting. Those wishing to speak for or against an agenda item will be called upon after the item has been officially introduced to the board. Every agenda item will be open for public comment before the board takes formal action on the item. At this time, if there is any public comment, you may step forward. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to the next item, which is a special presentation with Stephen and Amy, transfer student impactation. If I could have you guys come forward, please sign the speaker identification sheet and then introduce yourself, where you're from, and then just be sure to please speak into the mic. And you can remove the mic since I know sometimes it's a little far away. You can remove it and just speak into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Steven Salcido. I'm Associate Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Services in the I'll start again.
We record, so this is also for our audience to hear. Thank you.
All right. Everyone hear me?
Yep.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steven Salcido, Associate Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Services, and I have my colleague here.
Hi, I'm Juarez. I'm the AVP for Academic Excellence.
We wanted to meet with everyone today regarding campus impaction for transfer students. To be exact, the discontinuation of campus impaction for transfer students. So both Amy and I are making a recommendation to end campus-wide impaction for transfer students. What is campus impaction at Sac State? So I'm gonna go ahead and start with that. It is an enrollment management tool. And at one time at Sacramento State, we had over enrollments in a sense, or many students wanting to enter into Sac State, which is something we love and like. However, at that time, we need to make space for our local students. And at that time, our out-of-area students were also wanting to, so maybe someone from Southern California wanted to come here to our campus. We needed to ensure seats for our local students. So at that time, the campus made a difficult, very difficult decision of saying we are impacted. And what that means is that for students who are out of our area and applying to Sac State, they would have to meet a higher requirement, so make a higher GPA requirement. And then if you were from Southern California, you would go to one of your local CSU campuses at that time, maybe something like somewhere like Cal State LA or Cal State Long Beach. Moving forward, why we want to end campus impaction for transfer students is for a couple reasons. When we look at all California community colleges right now, they are struggling for enrollments. They are about 20–30% down the state, statewide. So that means there are less transfer students entering the CSU system, and there is definitely room for enrollment for our transfer students. So when we go ahead and we make the recommendation to end transfer impaction for our transfer students, we are saying to our students in California that you are welcomed here, we have room for you. And we will remove that publication from our websites. So students who may want to come here, they will know that we are not impacted and they will come here. If students see that we are impacted, it may hinder them from applying here. So that is what we are here for. We have a specific ask, and I'm gonna pass that to Amy.
I wanted to say two things, one of which is on the slide. This does not impact first-time freshmen admissions, so that will stay in place. All of the programmatic impaction will stay in place, nursing, psychology, graphic design. Those will not be changing. So our ask is, and the other thing, we have not been employing campus-wide impaction, which we can add additional restrictions on for transfer students to ensure that we can meet the needs of our local area. We have not been using that we know of. Steve and I are both newer, but we went back. So at least we know for the last 5 years, we have not been employing this. So we don't think that taking this away will have much of an impact at all. So the ask is this something that the student body desires us to do? And if so, if we can get some positive feedback today, that would be great. We have to indicate this in January before the board will come back together. And then if so, and we're working towards it, an affirmative resolution saying, yes, the board supports this, the students support this. We're going to need that further down the process. And if anybody has any additional questions, Stephen and I are here to answer any of those.
All right, thank you so much. Is there any questions for Stephen and Amy? Rob?
Good afternoon, thank you. I was curious if you could sort of explain the difference between the impaction for enrollment and the impaction for programs. I think the students would benefit from knowing a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so what impaction allows us to do is it allows us to add additional qualifiers to admit either into the university, either first-time freshmen transfers at the various levels. It also allows us to add additional qualifications for people to be admitted into particular programs. So Stevens area handles the stuff that deals with coming into the university in general. I work with the programs on their impaction so that they can control their enrollment for their spots to ensure the quality of the program. And so examples of those would be nursing, psychology, which is our biggest transfer group coming in from the community colleges, graphic design and others that don't have enough seats for just an open door. So those are the two mechanisms we have. Most people don't want impaction. Usually, last time I came here to talk about business bringing some of their programs off and biology bringing some of their programs off. It allows more students in. It makes it easier for students, so it's usually a positive thing. The university really doesn't want impaction. Typically, the people that want impaction are the specific programs that cannot accommodate all of the students that would like to be in the programs. So hopefully that's helpful. We have other ones that are impacted. We also have business, which is currently impacted, but we have a plan that we came here with about 2 years ago to slowly bring business off impaction for all of their concentrations except for accounting. So they're working on developing capacity to be able to do so. So it's a planned thing.
Thank you. And then we have another question. Trevisha? Is there any particular student population group that you identify might be negatively impacted by this decision if we do choose to support?
I don't think any population will be negatively impacted. Again, we haven't been using this for the last 5 years, so if we're not going to make, in a sense, we're not making any changes. This is more of a formal thing. The CSU passed a rule, or I shouldn't say that, the state passed a rule to the law that allows us to not have to do all that we used to have to do to come off impaction, which was just as hard as going on impaction. So many CSU campuses have been asked to take the opportunity, if they're not using impaction in certain places, to begin removing it. But it's always been a push of the CSU on behalf of the students to come off impaction. Again, it opens more seats for students across the board. It also makes the hurdles less as you're coming in, so not having to have a higher GPA or this or that. But I just can't imagine that there's going to be a huge impact to this since we haven't been using it for 5 years. So it's more of a, in this one, it's more of a cleanup. For the first year students, we are using it at the campus level, and we need to work on ways to build capacity and to research and to know if it's going to have an impact on it. So, but today we're just asking about transfer.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have a couple other questions. Salma?
I'm sorry, can I pass it to Jennifer first? Your hand was up first, I just feel.
It's the same thing, doesn't matter. Jennifer, go ahead.
So I just have a question. You partially answered it in saying that it's not been enforced recently, but I'm from the biology department, and we've seen a huge change, I would say, over the last 6 years in terms of the readiness of transfer students coming in. So I don't know if that's simply marketing, the associate degree for transfer being somehow utilized, but we used to get transfer students coming in that were literally freshmen in the major, and then they would take the seats of freshman students, and it was a disaster. And so I just was wondering what's happening or what could happen to make sure that transfer students are transferring at the appropriate time so that it's good for them and it's good for our students that are continuing.
Good question. One is, again, we haven't put this in practice for 5 years, so students still must be CSU eligible and still be transfer or ready to enter. So they're still following all the admissions guidelines.
They were doing that before,
Yes.
and they were coming in as freshmen.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how to answer how that was before.
Okay.
So I think, Jennifer, that is another set of policies talking about transfer patterns and how people transfer and how you're eligible to transfer and what you come in as. And that's something that I know the CSU is working on many different things, and as you know, there's a lot of legislation that's passing through with that on readiness. We are we are kind of hampered at times by those policies, and they don't always fit with some of our programs and preparedness. And I know that they're trying to clean up some of those things, but I think that this is a really key success issue, that if you're coming in and you're not prepared, or you're being placed into things where you're not prepared, that's impacting other work that Stephen and I work on together in terms of quality. So let's continue that conversation. I mean, maybe not with this particular thing, but I think that this is something that we need to advocate on behalf of students, that success is not just moving from place to place. Success, well, my area is learning, so my success is about learning, but preparedness to also be ready to learn is something that's really important in making sure, especially in high count majors like yours. But we have a lot of high count majors across the different colleges, and it's just not fair to students. So, yeah, let's talk about that. But I don't think that this is going to have any impact on that, just because the GPA is the GPA, and we haven't been using that as a factor, or any other sort of additional thing that we can use. We can't use, but we can't make it specific to a program that's at this level, and we can't make it different from program to program at this level. So there's very few things that the campuses employ, except for things like GPA or something that would be controlled by other policies within the system. Like the one that's being debated right now, how many years of math do you need coming out of high school? That's being debated by the system right now. So we'll keep talking about this, because I think it's important, but I just don't see that this could have any impact on that, because we're not using the levers that we can use at this point.
Okay, and then you have a lot of questions, and we'll get to everybody, so please be patient. Salma?
Hi. I just want to know, how does this affect expressed interest students?
So expressed interest is only for program impaction, so this will not impact anybody in any way. Students can still transfer in, but if you have, if you're psychology or saying, you have to meet the secondary application for all of those. So you come in as express interest in, say, nursing, psychology, and all of that, but you still have to meet all the same things. So this will not impact that at all.
Thank you. Lessa?
I'm not sure if this falls under your jurisdiction, but what would happen to those students that once they transfer here, making sure that they stay here? Because as we've seen, a lot of first year students already struggle with, continuing being here in college because they don't know about the resources. So what would happen to these transfer students? My worry is that, a lot of students already struggle with this, so then this would just grow more and more.
So that's a really good question. Actually, we have many retention programs happening right now, and that's the high touch with our student body. That's with the call campaigns, text messaging. I know we send a lot of messages, what avenues work. How do we target students and ensure that they're getting the resources needed? And that's actually, when we talk about high touch point, it's that conversation. And through that conversation, you're kind of taking a pulse check where we're at and what resources we can go ahead and give to you. And it's not just a resource, it's, okay, let me get you in contact with someone so that we make sure that the resource is readily available. So those are some of the areas. We have also our different centers, and to make sure that we are assisting our different centers with the different communications and routes as well.
And again, I just want to mention that I completely agree with you, and I think this is very similar to Jennifer's question. But we will not be doing, if we remove this, we will not be doing anything different than we have been doing in the last 5 years. So it's not that we're letting in a different set of students with a different GPA or a different preparation. It will be exactly the same as the last 5 years. So I just want to make sure your question is important. for the same reason that all of our questions and how we support students are important. So again, if you ever have things that deal with that, I'm always happy to talk about how we are able to do that. Jurisdiction or not, we'll find the right person.
Thank you. AZ?
Thank you for the presentation. Just like looking forward in time in terms of the College of Business, when you're talking about removing most concentrations as like being impacted besides accounting, what would that look like? Would that accounting would be the only program where students would have to meet the GPA requirement and the core classes, and then you'd have to build out the capacity for like seats in the classes for all the other concentrations, right? So how does that process work? Do you have to like coordinate with the College of Business and make sure there's enough faculty to teach all those different concentrations if you let more students in?
Yeah, so for business, this body approved that plan that they created. The pandemic caused a little bit of we're not moving as fast on it. But what would happen is that all of the concentrations except for accounting would no longer require a secondary application. So if you get accepted to the university, you can get accepted into the concentration of your choice within business except for accounting, which you would have to do a secondary application for, and the requirements would be higher. They just don't have the capacity to come on. They're currently looking at all of their concentrations to see how many people they're turning away, and how many people in the other concentrations to ensure if they were to take that off that it would not harm students in any way, and it would only be more opportunity. So again, the pandemic kind of has put everything out of whack in terms of numbers and trajectories and all of that. But business continues to lower its GPA in its secondary applications for all of the areas except for accounting. And we can talk more about that, but again, because this is an opportunity for more students to come in, and it shouldn't impact the number of classes being offered and all of those sorts of things, because capacity issues have to be met. It's usually a positive thing in terms of receiving feedback from the community, so for future students and also for current students.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Stephen? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, now moving forward, we have another special presentation by Natalie, our Vice President of Academic Affairs, Academic Affairs Report. Natalie, when you get up there, please also just sign and identify yourself for the audience.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadia Dominguez, and I'm the current ASI Vice President of Academic Affairs. Hello to all the constituents in the audience. Today I will be giving my ASI Vice President of Academic Affairs report that is required per my operating rules. And I'm here to present to you what I've been doing for the past semester, my advocacy plan, and any university initiatives that have been taking place that affect academics. Okay, so briefly I'm going to go over the presentation overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. I know it looks lengthy, but I'll go quick. I'm going to go over a general update of what I've been doing over the semester. I'm going to go into explaining what the Division of Academic Affairs is, what is Faculty Senate, what is Student Academic Senate. I added something new to the report that hasn't been done before, so I added the college directors' academic check-ins that I did with them, and what they reported to me and any initiatives that tie into the problems they're having within their college. And then I'm going to go into some enrollment data and initiatives, academic affairs division initiatives, graduation initiatives, division of inclusive excellence initiatives, advising initiatives, and other initiatives that I've been also hoping to start with the upcoming semester. So a quick update, I have attended all Faculty Senate meetings and Faculty Senate executive. I'll be transparent except for one, had a personal emergency, but I have been to the rest of them. Have fulfilled the majority of my operating rules requirements, which I am very proud of. All faculty senate committee appointments are full except academic policies committee. Did have one grad student, but at the end he couldn't fulfill to the time requirement. But I filled my committees fairly early in the semester. I also held 6 student academic senate meetings for the semester. Met with various administrators, faculty, staff, and students to discuss academic related issues, and worked on my strategic priorities and other university initiatives. So briefly, what is the Division of Academic Affairs? The board has met the interim provost and vice president of academic affairs, Dr. Carlos Nevares. Unfortunately, his term will end this upcoming January, and the old provost will return, Stephen Perez. But it's been an honor to work with Dr. Nevares, and under his team is the vice provost of faculty success, Tasha Souza, and the interim vice provost of student academic success, David Ziegler. So what they do is they provide leadership to the Division of Academic Affairs, including faculty, staff in all the colleges and the university library. Under the division, they have the international programs, the global engagement, the Office of Undergrad and Graduate Studies, the Office of Research, Innovative and Economic Development, the Office of Faculty Advancement, the Center for Teaching and Learning, the Office of Academic Excellence, and the Carlson Center. So Faculty Senate, you guys have heard me throw around this word the entire semester, so if you're still a little bit confused of what it means, essentially Faculty Senate is a primary consultative body for instructional and academic related professional matters on campus. So for example, program proposals, if there wants to be a change within the major, it goes through Faculty Senate. Any faculty university committee appointments, they go through Faculty Senate. Any policies or bills that might affect SAC's day as a whole, it goes through Faculty Senate. The chair of Faculty Senate is Adam Rex and vice chair is Helen Bettis. And there are 3 ASI representatives, including myself, Aaron Gilbert-O'Neill, which most of you know who he is, and Nikita Akumov, who is our civic engagement coordinator for ASI. And then the chart on the side shows essentially how Faculty Senate is organized. And to give you a better perspective, Faculty Senate is essentially a mini version of the CSU Academic Senate we have. So for the entire CSU system, there's an Academic Senate where they talk about CSU policies at large, and Faculty Senate essentially does the same thing, but just for Sac State. And under Faculty Senate, there is a multitude of subcommittees that focus on specific criteria. So as you can see, we have Academic Policies Committee, Curriculum Policies Committee, and so forth. Student Academic Senate. Student Academic Senate is an ASI internal committee, which I chair. Student Academic Senate serves as an advisory council to the Board of Directors pertaining to matters within the Faculty Senate and academic affairs that directly affect students. Like mentioned, I do chair the meeting. The membership of the committee is 2 students from each prospective college, plus undergrad and grad. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to fill the exact requirements from 2 students from each college, but I do have a pretty large membership of around 26 students, and Student Academic Senate has been very successful within the Senate. I do have a large, strong SSIS students population in the Senate, but I'm going to work with the directors to get more students directly from their colleges for the next semester. And then some of the things that we do in this committee is we review legislation that's currently on Faculty Senate. So the 3 representatives, we go and give feedback of what's going on in Faculty Senate. Is there anything that we should be focusing on? Anything that the board should take up on? So example, that lovely working board meeting that we were here at 7 a.m. for was for Faculty Senate. But I will say that Student Academic Senate did a lot of the dirty work in the background that got me to be able to present as much information that I did to you. They went to Faculty Senate, they went and showed their support. So they're really involved with Faculty Senate. Anything that affects students, we're there and we're advocating for our rights. Some other things that we do is anything that the board may ask us to do or myself, we take those matters as well. And then we inform students with any academic related issues. And we're also working on our strategic priorities that affect our academics. So right now we're currently looking at the grading policy and the attendance policy and diversity and inclusion within the classroom and within faculty. So the college director's academic report. So essentially what this is that I had to meet with all the college directors within the semester and ask them if there was any problems within their colleges that they're seeing. I just gave a brief overview of some main topics that I was seeing. Of course, they went more into detail what was going on. But the majority of the colleges, what they're seeing is high DFW rates. And they wanted to explain like what classes are they seeing and why are they seeing such high DFW rates. And then when I'm far more into my presentation, I'll give the initiative of what we're doing for DFW rates. Excuse me. But other things that we're seeing within the colleges was just talked about was the express entrance, and students are very confused about what requirements needed is to get into the program, and a lot of confusion within the express interest. And a big one we also saw within the college is the student success. So students are not engaging as much within the classroom, and this was even brought up in faculty senate, that students are disconnecting and disassociating within the classroom. So that's a big topic that's being talked about right now. Okay, so I'm gonna go into some,
Natalie, just a minute. Sandra?
Just a quick question, what's a DFW rate?
DFW rates are, so D stands for when you get like a D in a course, F is when you fail the course, and W is withdraw. Thank you, I should have explained that.
Thank you. Unapproved withdrawal or unauthorized.
Thank you. Some enrollment data that actually Steven Salcido just presented to Faculty Senate the other day. So in fall 2022, we had 30,883 students enrolled in Sacramento State. We're seeing high numbers of new freshman admissions, which was around 4,000. And then we did see a drop in transfer students admitted, which was around 2,000 students, which actually dropped from the previous year. But the good thing is that we did meet the Chancellor's Office numbers for enrollment, which was 24,371, and we obviously surpassed that. So we're actually one of 4 of the CSUs who are not down in enrollment numbers, which is amazing. There's 23 CSUs, and we are 1 in 4 who has good enrollment numbers, and we're actually up by 4.7%, which is amazing. That means we're doing something right and students want to come here. And then just a cool fact that I want to throw in there is that there's 70 recruiters across the country trying to get students to come to Sac State, and Dr. Steven Salcido shared that with me, so I thought that was pretty cool that there's people all over the nation trying to get students to come here. And then one initiative that they're really trying to take on right now is reaching out to students who dropped out during the pandemic. So what they're doing essentially is trying to reach to those students who are probably struggling during the pandemic and seeing why did they drop out during that really rough time that we all probably went to. And some of the things that they're doing is they're holding virtual workshops for these students. So they're sending them emails saying, hey, if you want to come back, we're here for you. Please join this workshop. We'll walk you through it. If you need resources to reapply, we're going to help you out. And they actually already got 70 students to come back who dropped out during the pandemic. So I think this is a really good initiative that they're taking on.
Gina?
Natalie, this is great information, thank you. Just for maybe the constituents in the audience, can you explain the difference of why it would be 30,833 and then the 25,527?
Yes.
I know what it is. Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
So from what I understood from what Dr. Salcido's explained to me, that when the Chancellor's enrollment, essentially what they wanted us to achieve, that was a few years back. So we've been bumping up our numbers, and that's what we had when the goal actually came out, and this is our numbers now. That's what I understood. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
Gina?
I don't, not wrong, definitely not wrong, just slightly different, and sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around is the 30,883 is our head count. So that's people, bodies, which is awesome, right? We need the bodies, right? But the 25,527 is full-time equivalent. And that's the numbers that this state and the Chancellor's Office give us, is they want to know how many full-time students you are. So sometimes it takes 2 part-time bodies to make an equivalent, so that's why it's, yeah. But that's the goal we're always working toward, is a full-time equivalent.
Perfect. Thank you for clearing that up, Gina. And then I'm going to go into some of the academic affairs initiatives that they're doing in the division. This is a very important one, which I'm very passionate about. It is a critical success plan. Not sure if you guys have heard it. It just came out this semester. So essentially what this program is going to do is a multi-level approach to improve course completion rate, which is the DFW rates. The sole purpose for this is to obviously try to eliminate those high DFW rates that we're seeing within the colleges. But not just for this purpose, it's also to improve student outcomes by removing curricular barriers, redesigning the curriculum, and implementing equitable teaching and learning practices. This will launch this upcoming spring, so you guys are gonna see this hopefully rolling out in the spring semester. And just a quick guideline of how this is gonna look. So each college was asked to identify 10 courses within their college that had the highest DFW rates. They have already identified this, so the colleges already gave academic affairs the 10 colleges that they're seeing with DFW rates. And now they're in the stage of picking a faculty fellow that's essentially gonna take charge of this entire thing. And then from there, they're gonna develop reasons of why these courses have such high DFW rates and come up with strategies to hopefully lower those numbers down. So it's gonna look very unique for each course, for each college. It just really depends on the reason of why these courses have such high DFW rates. The next one that they're working on right now is Hornet Launch. So Hornet Launch is a program that puts our first year students into their classes, so they don't have to register when they first come in, they're just put into classes and given a schedule, and then they can change them later if they please to. However, I've been working with Dr. David Ziegler, and he's been saying that Hornet Launch hasn't been as efficient in placing students in their courses because they're being placed in courses that don't match up well together, or they're seeing that the classes are too hard for the freshmen to take their first semester, so they're seeing high withdrawal rates within those courses that they're put in through Hornet Launch. So they're looking at redesigning the entire structure, and they're working with the advising director to see what's the best courses and what's the best way to look at Hornet Launch as a whole. And their long-term goal is to make a mandate block for the first 2 years, so including your freshman year and your sophomore year, to have your courses already scheduled for you, including transfer students. So they don't have transfer students on Hornet Launch right now, but what they're seeing is that transfer students coming into Sac State don't know how to register for classes, so they want to also include this in this plan so they don't as well withdraw from classes or miss registration date. Some initiatives with the Division of Inclusive Excellence. So I met with the Vice President of Inclusive Excellence.
Sorry, I believe you have a question. Veronica?
Okay, I was just gonna ask about Hornet Launch. I was told some issues with also students that haven't fully changed their major yet and they're in the process. Like, for example, political science, you have to have taken political science 1 in order to fully change your major to political science. So students that maybe haven't taken the course yet or in the process of taking it can't change their major yet. And that was an issue that I also faced, but other students have brought it up as well. So with Hornet Launch coming in, you kind of are forced to take, like for example, I was a psych major when I first came in. So they put me into psych classes. And it wasn't until like much later when the enrollment opened up again, after everyone else could enroll, that I could change my classes, but by that point it was all like too late. So do they discuss anything about that, like students that haven't officially changed their major yet, so it shows that they're a different major, and that way it puts them in wrong classes?
So we did touch a little bit on that. The advising director actually brought that up, that students it's being difficult for them to change their major. So they're booking a lot of advising appointments, and they're really swamped with advising appointments. So what they did say that they were gonna focus on putting them more in GE courses more than major courses. But they're still in the early on workshops of this. They don't have like a set out draft of this, but Dr. Ziegler said that he is open to feedback from the board and from us, so if you guys do have any ideas, he's more than welcome to take feedback.
And then Natalie, just hold on a minute. Any questions that you have, write them down, because maybe she'll answer later in the presentation. So any questions, just please write them down and we can ask them at the end. Go ahead.
Perfect, thank you. So some initiatives within the Division of Inclusive Excellence. I met with the Vice President of Inclusive Excellence and University Diversity Officers, Dr. Mia Sidis-Tedwell. She explained to me that there will be a IE student intern program, Inclusive Excellence student intern program, that will be launching out in the spring. So what this internship is gonna hold up, it's gonna have 8 positions, 4 in the Office of Division of Inclusive Excellence, 2 in the Cultural Transformation Office, and 4 in the Office of Equal Opportunity. She did mention though that 4 of these positions are filled already, so the other 4 will be posted on Handshake. The purpose of this internship is to learn DEI principles, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion principles, career aspirations, to boost your resume, make connections with the university, enhance student life, and at the end she did say that she will provide a letter of recommendation to the students who come out of this internship program, which is amazing. And it is a paid internship, which is always a bonus. And their long-term goal is to make this a one-unit course that is applicable to your graduation units that you need. So that is awesome, and I hope that in the future they're able to make that a one-unit course. And then another one of their initiatives that you guys already know that's happening is the Anti-Racism and Inclusive Campus Plan Symposium that will be happening March 28th, 2023. She wanted me to really emphasize the Spark sessions that Rob is overseeing. Essentially what the Spark sessions are, they're where students can pitch solutions for equity-based dilemmas. And their long-term goal with it is that for students to be involved in the policy change and giving their opinions and what they think about what should be changed on campus when it comes to these issues. So please contact Rob if you do have any students that you think might be interested, and let's help them with this symposium. All right, so now we're going to be going into some graduation initiatives. Of course, you guys have probably seen the Finish in 4 and Through in 2 graduation initiatives that is blasted all over our Sac State website. So the Finish in 4 is Sacramento State's plan for student success. It's a university-wide collaborative student-centered strategy that combines research-based best practice and data-informed decision-making to document quality learning, increase graduation rates, and eliminate the achievement gap. So essentially to have students come in as freshmen and graduate in 4 years, and they're out of here with their degree. And then the Through in 2 is for transfer students who come in already with their associate's degree and hopefully graduate within 2 years. Some perks of this program is they do get priority registration, they have access to advisors each semester, and they do have to have an appointment each semester with an advisor for their major. And then some quick graduation data. Our graduation rates have risen for the past 6 years straight. The number of students who graduated in 4 years rose to 28.1% this 2022 school year, and compared to 2016, it was at 9%. So our graduation rates have been rising, which is good, and that was because of our Finish in 4 and Through in 2 campaigns. And it has been the largest improvement in the CSU system, which is great. The CSU's goal for Sac State was 30%. For 4-year graduation rates by 2025, so we're almost there, so let's see, hopefully we can get there. Actually, they have already exceeded that for transfer students by 38% within 2 years. So it's looking like we're doing great by our graduation rate, so hopefully we can continue boosting our graduation. And then some advising initiatives. I met with the Director of Advising, Misha Williams. Some things that she said that they have already completed is the registration holds on your center when you can't register for classes. They look at that entire program to see why aren't students registering on time, because they're seeing a drop in registration and they're seeing that students aren't registering on time. So one of the main reasons they saw is because students have so many registration holds. So they reassessed the reasons why they put registration holds on your student center, and they actually lowered the amount of registrations that can pop up and didn't make it as easy for you to get a registration hold. So one example she gave me, say you have a parking ticket if you were parked out in a lot that you weren't supposed to be parked out. If you have a parking ticket in the city of Sacramento, you'll have a registration hold. So now they made it where unless you have up to like 3, then you'll get a registration hold. So they've made it more flexible for students, which they're hoping they're gonna see that it's gonna lower the reasons why students aren't registering on time. And then 2 things that we actually are workshopping and hoping to implement for the next semester is group advising seminars before registration holds up. So what we want to do with this is hold seminars or workshops like rooms in here in the union and have 2 advisors come and explain simple things like how to register for classes, how to read your academic requirement, how to make advising appointments, because what they're seeing when students book advising appointments is that they're booking appointments for very simple questions that can be answered within 5 minutes. So then the rest of the 25 minutes of the appointment is lost. So that's time that other students can maybe have if they need more time. So we want to see if we can do these seminars where a bunch of students can come, ask some general questions, and hopefully that will decrease the amount of advising appointments that they're getting. And then another suggestion that I pitched is maybe having some pre-recorded videos of how to register for classes, how to read your academic requirements, so students can just pull it up, say they have some question and they don't want to wait for 2 weeks for an advising appointment. They can pull up these videos on spot, watch them as many times as you need. I know I'm a visual and audio learner, so I think that can be really beneficial. And then some students might get intimidated to even make an appointment for advising. So having something where they can just go and check, I think can really benefit our students. And we're seeing how's the best way to get these videos out. We're either looking at linking them in the student center, or hopefully she pitched a Canvas page. I know Canvas is a little touchy about having other non-academic stuff on there, so we're looking at the possibilities of starting this up. And then some other initiatives that I'm hoping to roll out that I've kind of already started working on is reevaluating the freshman and transfer orientation, especially the aspect of the academics area where they teach you how to register for classes, how to read your student center. I've been meeting with a lot of students and they said that it wasn't enough time, or it was really rushed, or they weren't able to ask questions. So I've been working with Dr. Ziegler and the Director of Advising to see how we can go about maybe looking at rebuilding the orientation process where students have more time to ask more academic related questions. This is very still in the workshop area, so I don't have any specific questions, but if you guys do have recommendations, I'm more than open to hearing of any. And then some other ones that I'm hoping to start doing is promoting academic resources through faculty. What we're seeing is that students get information more through their faculty in the classroom. We can send out as many SAC sends as we can, but realistically, are they opening every single one and reading through all of them? So if a professor in the class is announcing, hey, there's this, and this resources for you on the first day of instruction, they're bound to remember it throughout the semester, and they know on day one that they have these resources available to them. And then the next one is the DFW rates and student success. We already went over this in the other initiatives. So I just let all the administrators know that we're all more than willing to give our feedback in the programs, and they've been very kind to include me in that process. So I'm more than happy to keep updating if you guys do continue to want some updates. And then lastly, just to bridge that gap between faculty and students, what I'm seeing is that students are afraid to go to their professors and ask for help. And that can be a huge, huge problem when students need mental health services or need any type of services. It's difficult for students to go up to their professors and ask for help because they're scared. So I feel like if we can help bridge this gap, whether it's that faculty letting students know that, hey, we have these resources, this university is here for you, by letting them know we have this available for you on day one or throughout the semester, I think that's gonna help students realize like, okay, my faculty care, my professors care, let me reach out for help. So those are some of the things that I'm hoping to roll out and that I'm already starting to work on. And that does conclude my presentation. So if anyone has any questions, there's my information for the constituents, but if you have any here, I can take them now. Thank you.
Incredible, thank you. AZ?
Oh, great presentation, Natalie. I've been working with my dean on the Academic Affairs Initiative, and I know the College of Business selected their faculty fellow. I think one of the main questions of the process was, like, if the faculty fellow is going to include the student voice, like if they're able to talk to students in these DFW rate classes and figuring out why these classes are DFW rates, like are high. I think specifically like certain classes in the College of Business, it would be valuable to talk to the students because, I mean, that's like half the problem is the students all have the same problems and the faculties do things their own way, right? So it messes stuff up.
Yeah, that's one thing that we talked about when we met is student input should be there. A lot of the times they're going to get their answers through the students. So they don't, each college has kind of the freedom of how they're going to go about this. So it can be more of a recommendation to the colleges of like, hey, maybe we should ask some students of why there's such high DFW rates in these certain courses. So yeah, that's great feedback.
Veronica?
So I was gonna ask about the through and to program that you were talking about. With that one, do students, that's for transfer students, right? Do they get automatically put into it when they come? Because I know that a lot of transfer students have really late registration dates. So are they automatically enrolled in the through and to, or do they have to actually go in there? Because I remember for the Finish in 4 program, you have to like click something on your student center to actually technically enroll in the program. So how does that
I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if there's an enrollment process to get into the initiative. I think it's just an initiative that the university is hoping that they graduate in 2 years. But if I'm wrong, I don't think I am, but someone can correct me.
Veronica? Well, because you said they get early registration.
Yeah, I don't know the exact question to that. This is what they told me when I met with them. So I'm not sure if it's something they have to enroll into. That's a question I can ask and get back.
Alexa?
You mentioned how academic affairs is working to help those students who dropped out during the pandemic. I'm wondering what are we doing for students that are currently at Sac State or who left Sac State because of financial aid. I know that as an AB 540 student, I struggle a lot with mine because it's a whole different process. So I'm wondering if there's something that's being done for that, and if not, or if it is, or I can help in, I would definitely love to do that because I know that I've spoken with some of the financial aid people who have worked there, but there's like, we need to continue to work on it, and sometimes, they're understaffed or they just need extra help.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know Dr. Salcido did mention that they have a retention campaign. So he did mention to me briefly, I actually met with him yesterday, that they do have a retention program where they're reaching out to students who look like they're struggling or borderline in the academic probation or failing out, that they are reaching out to those students and letting them know of the resources they have available and how can they further assist them. But in details of how they're doing it, we can get in contact with Dr. Steven Salcido to see how we can assist them.
Adderall?
To kind of answer your question, if it's okay with Natalie, is that what I remember from orientation, this was in 2020, with summer 2021, is that with finishing 4 and 3 and 2, they have to sign it in front of their orientation leader. That's like one of the activities that they do throughout the entire orientation session is to sign up for finishing 4 and 3 and 2.
Veronica?
And that's any transfer student can do it. There aren't like requirements for it. Just because my question is if it does give transfer students priority or at least higher registration, I feel like that's something that should be communicated to them because a lot of transfer students get really late registration dates.
Gina?
From what I know about the program, and I don't think it's changed, is that you don't get priority registration for fall and spring. You get priority for summer. So you get first crack at summer classes. And you get, priority for registration is really based on unit and class level, and unless you fit into a priority group, then you wouldn't necessarily get priority just by signing the agreement that I'm going to get through into. Because that would just be like everybody.
Adderall?
Yeah, and then usually right under the student center, where it says new application status, like where that information is, it'll either say finish in 4 if you're a first year or through in 2, and then when you click on it, it gives you like your contract that you sign that orientation, and it explains what it entails and what like privileges it brings and stuff.
Awesome. Any other questions for Natalie? I have 2, but I wanted to open up it for anybody else before I ask any questions. So for the Hornet Launch Program, I was a transfer student, so for me, I wasn't implemented in that program back in like 2019. I don't think, I might have, I really don't remember. Okay, so no, I wasn't. So how is that gonna work with the transfer students who already have certain prerequisites that they have met? And then I know that, it might be part of the reworking, maybe you can clarify, because I know that there's students that have expressed, not only transfer students, but just first year students that have expressed concerns that they're getting classes that maybe they didn't need or that they just don't, it doesn't work out. So I just want to know if there's any conversation that's happening right now between whoever needs to have the conversation for the transfer students and implementing them in the Hornet Launch Program.
Yeah, so great question. So I mentioned that is our long-term goal of adding transfer students, but their first evaluation is the freshmen in the program already. Their goal is to add a transfer student. So there isn't much of like brainstorming that has been happening with adding them. It's just a long-term goal that they're hoping to, like that's their end goal, to have transfer students added. But if you want to give him some feedback, I recommend let's meet up with him and talk more about it.
Yeah, and then my last question, with the seminars, were those for transfer or for first-year students that you were talking about?
For both, it's more of like a generic, learn how to read your academic reports, know how to read your student center, know how to register for classes. So it's more for like generical questions. So we all register for classes so it can be beneficial for any student.
And would those be happening at the beginning of the year or like just? you know?
Before registration happens, so
Okay.
a few weeks before what we were looking at.
Okay, that would be helpful. Any other questions? All right, Natalie. Oh, just go, yeah, no, okay, you got me, yeah, thank you so much, Natalie. Awesome, so now we are gonna move forward to consent calendar. I said they were drawn first or the consent first? Okay, so there's some items that are gonna be withdrawn. 2022-23, 1266, Budani Estrella Pacheco Financial Committee appointments. If there are no objections, the items are gonna be withdrawn. Okay, seeing none, the item will be withdrawn. The next item that's going to be withdrawn is 2022-23, 1270, Andrea Benitez, Estrella Pacheco, Faculty Senate Committee appointments. If there are no objections, the item will be withdrawn. Okay, seeing none, the item is withdrawn. And then under consent, 2022-23, 1268, Estrella Pacheco, recommendation to the President for University Committee appointments is going to be moved to consent. If there are no objections, the item will be moved to consent. Okay, seeing none, the item has been moved to consent. For 2022-23, 1269, De La Garza Garcia, Estrella Pacheco, internal committee appointments will be moved to consent. If there are no objections, the item will be moved to consent. Okay, seeing none, the item will be moved to consent. And will be adopted. All right, now we're gonna be moving forward to new business. Under new business, we have 2022-23, 1267, Estrella Pacheco, University Committee appointments. Is there any, no, can I get a motion? Oh, sorry, Salma?
I'm sorry, Chris, I thought we were going to withdraw.
It's postponed. He's got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so for 2022-23, 1267, Estrella Pacheco, University Committee appointments, can I get a motion? Alexa?
I move to approve 2022-23, 1267 Estrella Pacheco University Committee appointments.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alexa?
So as we can see, if you scroll down a little bit, we have finally found a grad student for the AICP Advisory Council and for the CCE Associate Dean Search Committee. Her name is Beyonce Daly, and I spoke with her, and she's excited to be on these committees. And she's actually going to join the Friday meeting that we have for the IACP Advisory Council. As of right now, we have 7 committees left that we need to fulfill. I truly need one for the Appellate Council, ASI Elections Complaint Committee, since there are a couple requirements for that one. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I know that there's students out in the audience, so if you're interested in getting involved, definitely, this is a great way to get involved. There's for many different committees, if you're an NSM major or from the NSM department, there's one there. So definitely let me know if you would like to be a part of any of these committees, and that is all I have.
Okay, is there any more discussion, questions on that item? Okay, we're gonna move to a vote. All in favor of 2022-23, 1267, Estrella Pacheco University Committee appointments, please raise your hand. Okay, you may lower your hand. All opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Okay, now we have our next item, which is 2022-23-1271, Ulos Mejia Diaz de la Garza Garcia Budani, allocation of strategic priority funding for 3.1.2, collaborate on cultural celebration. Is there a motion? Veronica?
I move to approve 2022-23-1271, Bolis Mejia Diaz de la Garza Garcia Budani, allocation of strategic priority funding for 3.1.2, collaborate on cultural celebration.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussions? Veronica?
So we changed it, so we have this piece of legislation for our strategic priority 3.1.2, which is to collaborate on cultural celebration. We are hoping to have kind of like a big event in the spring semester, and we are working out the details still for the room and the time and date. But we are hoping to do sometime in March, and we are looking for the university ballroom. The event will consist of performances, fashion shows, and food. And then we are trying to have, we're focusing on 5 major ethnic groups, which are Middle Eastern, Asian Pacific Islander, Desi American, Native American, Hispanic, and African American / Black. And so we are going to be working with a lot of different campus partners, including the Division of Inclusive Excellence, the Department of Social Sciences and Interdisciplinary Studies, the Iranian and Middle Eastern Studies Center, the Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Center, Multicultural Center, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Center, and then also some other campus partners and community partners that we're working with. So we are asking from the ASI Board of Directors to provide up to $1,500 for the event. We didn't want to specify exactly what, because we aren't exactly sure whether we're going to use it towards performances or towards the food or the costs for the ballroom. So once we kind of have an idea of how much we're getting from our campus partners and what the budget is going to look like, then we'll be able to give the board of directors a more itemized budget. But for now, we're just asking for up to $1,500 for the event for next semester.
Thank you. Is there any other discussions? Or questions or concerns? Rob?
Just a clarifying question about the Department of Social Sciences and Interdisciplinary Studies. Isn't that a whole college?
Yes.
Veronica?
Yeah, I guess I'll change the wording.
It's grammatically then.
Oh, okay, so yeah, because it is a college, so we're working with the SSIS college.
The college, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns? Gina?
Veronica, thanks for your work on this. I think it's a good idea for us to vote and commit for, at this point, for planning purposes. And I think that the way that you made it a broader set of criteria for the use of the funding will be appropriate as you continue planning with the other folks who will be involved.
Thank you. Is there any other discussions on this item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to a vote. All in favor of 2022-23-1271, Luis Mejia Diaz, Dana Garza Garcia, Budani, allocation of strategic priority funding 3.1.2, collaborate on cultural celebration, please raise your hand. Okay, you may lower your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, the item passes unanimously. Next, we're going to move to 2022-23-1272, Yugulam Checo Budani, allocation strategic priority funding for 3.3.2, collaborate with Student Affairs Podcast to promote ASI for spring 2023 semester. Is there a motion? Adderall?
I move to approve I move to approve 2022-2023-1272 strategic priority 3.3.2, collaborate with student affairs podcast to promote ASI for spring 2022 semester.
Second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussions? Adderall?
Nothing's been changed. Just a little summary of this strategic priority. We decided to do two opportunity drawings, one in the fall semester, which has been completed, and then one in the spring semester, to allow students to get more knowledgeable of ASI. Spring semester, we have a lot of students enrolling to campus compared to the fall semester, so we thought it was a good idea to do two opportunity drawings. Mic'd Up is a student affairs podcast for the constituents of the audience. They work in Lassen Hall, and they help to promote resources to students at large. So it was a good strategic priority to kind of collab on together. I am asking the ASI Board of Directors to allocate up to $200 for spring 2022 semester. The products will be discussed in the spring semester, as the Hornet Bookstore might have some new products, but I know how to budget, so that's why I love shopping. So I think $200 we will be all okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other discussions on this item? Sandra?
I just wanted to comment that I saw the promotion for the fall semester promotion, and it was really cute because there were a couple bag blankets and a teddy bear, right? So I saw that go out, and I saw that those students were really uploading and trying to connect.
Thank you. Is there any other discussions or questions for Adderall? Okay, see, oh, sorry, Adderall?
Yeah, I also just wanted to add on that I've been kind of stalking the Sac State ASI page, and it's grown a lot on our followers. So it really does work when you kind of put, when students like to get cozy, warm stuff, especially because it's cold. So I'm really happy that it's working out, because I was nervous that it wasn't gonna, but it is, and we got a lot of comments in the post as well.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move to a vote. All in favor of 2022-23-1272, Ayukulang, Pacheco, Budani, allocation of strategic priority funding for 3.3.2, sorry, collaborate with Student Affairs podcast to promote ASI for spring 2023 semester, please raise your hand. For up to $200, please raise your hand, sorry. Okay, you may lower your hand. Okay, all opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, the item has been adopted unanimously. Okay, now we have 2022-23-1273, Udani, approval of audit firm. Is there a motion? Dervisha?
I move to approve 2022-23-1273 Budani approval of audit firm.
Second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussions? Dervisha?
So like discussed in the last working board meeting, the audit committee shall recommend to the board of directors the retention and termination of the independent auditor, and may negotiate the compensation of the auditor on behalf of the board, which is our operating rule 400.10. The ASI Audit Committee convened on November 23rd to discuss the request for proposal, which is the RFP, and concurred with ASI management and the auxiliary RFP Audit Committee consisting of ASI, Unionville Inc., UEI Foundation, and Capital Public Radio to award the independent audit firm, which is CLA Clifton Larson Allen, to audit ASI and the Unionville Inc. for next 3 fiscal years. We are recommending that the ASI Board of Directors approve the 3-year contract with the independent audit firm CLA.
the financial impact is as follows. For 22-23, it'll be 86,310. 23-24 will be 90,589, and 24-25 it will be 94,999. There's also, if you scroll down, there's a letter from the audit committee showing support to adopt CLA as our audit firm. Now, if the chair allows, I would like to pass it on to Mark to discuss in detail the whole process of choosing the firm. Take it away, Mark.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, BPF, for that recap. Okay, real quick, this process has been started way back in October, so it's been a long process. And as BPF said, the 5 auxiliaries got together. They formed the audit committee, sent out an RFP, which is request for proposal. We got 8 back. 2, we interviewed 4, and 2 kind of stood out. That was Moss Adams, you probably heard of them, and Clifton Larson Allen. They're both nationwide companies. The main reason why the audit committee RFP and the Union Well and the ASI audit committee chose Clifton Larson, mostly because of student dollars. ASI and Union Well will save about $14,000 on their proposal fee, and UEI will save probably just over $40,000. So it's a good savings for the student dollars, and we have 2 strong firms, but Clifton Larson Allen CLA was the one who stood out. And also on those numbers that BPF mentioned, we would get a 5% discount on those fees if all 5 auxiliaries choose CLA, and right now all 5 auxiliaries are going to go with CLA. So we'll get a 5% discount on that overall. So it's a good proposal. They were the strongest. And I don't know if I mentioned they're the 2nd largest company in the United States for nonprofits. So I think we have a strong group that's going to come on campus and audit all 5 auxiliaries.
Awesome, thank you. Is there any question or further discussion on the item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to a vote. All in favor of 2022-23-1273 Budani approval of audit firm, please raise your hand. Okay, you may lower your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, the item has been adopted unanimously. Okay, now we have 2022-23-1274 Pacheco Campbell resolution in support of the single-use plastic policy. Do I have a motion? Chris?
Question, it's not on here, the 74. It's 73.
Maybe do it without the 0.
Chris?
Yeah. I motion to postpone 2022-23-1274 Pacheco Campbell resolution in support of the single-use plastic policy to February 22nd.
And then I say if there are objections.
Second.
Okay.
I don't say no, I say postpone. Is it postpone or name?
Okay, the item has been moved and seconded to postpone to February 22nd. If there are no objections, the item will be postponed. Okay, seeing none, the item is postponed to February 22nd. Thank you, that's a new process that we just went through, so I appreciate your guys' patience. All right, now, okay, so now we're gonna, so we're gonna move to doing board reports. If there are no objections, before we present the last item, because we were waiting for a guest. So if there are no objections on doing board reports right now, we're gonna be doing them. Are there any objections? Yeah. Okay, Seeing none, we're gonna move to board reports right now. Our first board report, is our ASI President, Salma. Salma, you get 2 minutes, and then 2 minutes to deliver, and then 1 minute for questions. You may begin.
I just first want to acknowledge everyone in the audience. Thank you so much. I love seeing faces here because it makes me feel like you're real. I'm doing this for a reason. So it's so motivating, and I really appreciate you all taking your time out to be with us. And those watching the recording later, hey, I hope that you're doing well. We made it to the end of the semester, yay! We're almost done. Finals week, I wish everyone the best of luck. And to the Hornets that are graduating, congratulations. And I wish you nothing but the best on your future endeavors. There's a few things that I'd like to focus on for my board report, and one of those would be timely MD and the efforts that have finally come to fruition as far as that goes. So I have been coordinating with the California State Student Association to write a letter to the Public Employment Relations Board that would be deciding the fate of Timely MD and its contract on our campus. I was able to submit a letter on behalf of Sacramento State students with the help of Chris and Sidra, who is our Ledge Affairs coordinator. Awesome. We were able to submit that letter, and we also helped CSSA submit another letter on behalf of the CSU, and both of those will be taken in consideration for the PERB charge decision. So that's a huge win for us, and I'm looking forward to the next steps as you move into the legislature with this issue. The next thing would be, I had 2 meetings with the Chancellor's Office regarding Title IX and COSIN that came to our campuses. It was really interesting to hear the feedback from other campuses where Sacramento State students were included in the conversation, whereas other schools were not included, and some students were not invited at all. So yay, Sacramento State, for including the student voice.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to move forward to questions. Is there any questions for someone? Rob?
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Salma?
If you would like to support the ASI Board of Directors on lobbying efforts for Timely MD or mental health services at our campus, please join Lobby Corps. That's going to be our focus next semester as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to be moving forward to the bishop. No, just kidding, myself. It's myself, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, the 4 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so my board report. Just congratulations for everybody getting through the semester, and hopefully doing good in your classes. I know that I struggled with one specifically that was pretty much like math for journalists, and I don't like math. I'm not good at math, and just that was complicated. But we pulled through, and it was hard, but it was, I share that frustration with some folks, so it's, just push through. Everything will pay off at the end. Something I guess just kind of memorable here on my board report was the cultural celebration. We have been the people on the Priority Plus. We have been involved in these conversations that have just been very insightful for me, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm with all positive intent, I'm just very ignorant to these things that I just don't keep in mind, and just seeing professors that are actually teaching these things, or campus center leaders who are seeing this every day almost. It's insightful. I want to thank Veronica. Thank you for scheduling those meetings. I think that I'm learning as I'm in this position, and then just learning as a student. So we have more meetings scheduled for that, and we're hoping that this event is going to be very successful. We are all very excited for it. I think that sometimes we get a little too excited, too ahead of ourselves, to where we're we're wanting to do this planning as soon as possible, but then we kind of self-check ourselves and okay, no, we have to slow down. So that's been one of the most memorable things for me. It's planning this and just coming together with my priority members and hopefully completing this. I had my Social Justice and Equity Council event, which you guys approved on, I can't remember the date, but that one was pretty good. There was a lot of good conversation happening there. There was one specific student at large that came forth and spoke about her story, and that was pretty inspiring. It kind of reminded me and, I guess grounded me into why we are all in this position because we are advocating for individuals just like herself. Let's see, classroom presentations, those are completed. I did a couple more. These are some of the ones just from November and then December. I have one today, which is my extra one. And yesterday, Chris Urvashi and myself went to present to a class where we were talking about, I believe it was the food pantry, and we were talking about the services, the other ASI services. And 2 students arrived late, and they told us that they arrived late because they were at the food pantry. So that was awesome to know. It's always so like, I don't know, it kind of makes my heart flutter knowing that they know that that's a service for them that essentially they're paying for, that they can use if they are going through some sort of insecurity. Obviously I didn't ask because that's just, we don't ask that. But for my board report, that's it. Just everybody good luck on finals, and it was a pleasure serving you this fall semester. I will take any questions if there are any. Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move forward to our Vice President of Finance, Drew Visha. Drew Visha, you may begin once I hand you the mic.
Okay, I'm gonna start. Okay. So my personal note is really small, so I'm gonna say it. As the semester and year comes to an end, I would like to remind everyone to appreciate those around you and take a moment to realize how far you've come and how amazing you are. Good luck on finals. Please don't sacrifice your sleep. I've already sacrificed too much sleep this semester. I'm gonna try my best not to. And drink plenty of water, like Sandra says, eat and drink water during finals. Also, happy holidays and see you next year, because I'm not gonna be here. I will be out. So for internal committees, for ASI Finance and Budget, we met on November 15th and visited the Aquatic Center. The committee is concluded for the semester. For the ASI Scholarship Committee, the committee is also done for the semester. We passed the scholarship legislation, which was adopted, and all the recipients were notified, and they will be getting their money. For university committees, for UEI board, I attended the board meeting on December 1st with Salma. There's a board retreat on January 6th, which I will be attending. For student fee advisory committee, there is no updates at the moment. For Campus Grants Program Committee, we met on November 15th to allocate funds and look at all the applications, also done with the committee. For events, I had a lot to attend in November. However, I have dialed it down for December because finals are very important and grades. For the university events, I'm done with all of them. I went a little overboard for the presentations, but it was kind of fun. For College of Business Dean Search Committee, interviews were held. Committee made a final decision to the provost, and yesterday we all got an email that we have a new dean now. He's the person that we recommended, and we're really happy with the decision. For DOC, we have about $64,600 left. 135 clubs have received DOC funding. This is the most money they have received. Strategic priority updates. I wanted to update on the SEED award. The applications will be open on December 19th and will close on February 3rd. We decided to push it a little more in the semester for spring just so people still have time to apply for it. However, everything else, like the application reviews and the interviews, will still be in the same timeline. Everything else I have already completed, and I just wanted to update that for strategic priorities, we have $5,485 as of December 5, and after today's legislation being passed, it's about $3,785. So please get your money as soon as possible. And that's about it.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Jerusha? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next board report, which is Lexa, Vice President of University Affairs.
Hello everyone, like everyone has echoed, we made it. I just want to quickly say that please remind yourself why you started. I wanted to also say that for those that are, either international students or AB 540 students or undocumented students, if you don't have a case going on yet, or you're frustrated as to what are you gonna do after college, because I know many folks are graduating soon, it's okay. Don't lose that hope. You're going to college, and as for myself, like I've already started it, it's a long process still, but at the same time, I just want to emphasize that I'm here to not only show representation, but keep advocating for everyone. And for my internal committees, the Wellness, Safety, and Sexual Assault Awareness Committee did an amazing job with All Ears event, and it's amazing. We're already planning for the spring semester. As of right now, we're calling it Wellness All Around, and it's something that we want to partner up with Chris J, which is the Center of Race, Immigration, and Social Justice, I believe, and Women and Gender Studies, as well as the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. I've already emailed them, and we're trying to see what we can do to emphasize what's going on here on campus regarding sexual assault and any other things. We actually want to take initiative into this. For the Union Well Board of Directors, we had a meeting late November, and we discussed the audit firm. They also told us about some wage changes that are going to happen in 2023. So if you're interested in that, I have all the papers for that. And then they also have been working on the Well Garden. They don't actually have a name for it, but we've been referring to it as the Well Garden. It'll be behind the well. And I did ask them if it's going to be well lit, if there's going to be, enough lighting with everything that has been going on, and they did say that they're working on that, and there's going to be sensors and cameras. They're planning on doing a sort of like ribbon cutting ceremony, and they told me that they would, include me in the conversation once that happens. And with that said, the AICP Advisory Council is meeting this Friday at 10 a.m. For the strategic priority updates, I don't have any aside from 1.1.2 Explore Professional Clothing Drive. We were supposed to meet today, but it was rescheduled because it's getting cold, a lot of people are getting sick, and we also want to make sure that everyone's included in this conversation, so we rescheduled it for next Wednesday at 9 a.m. During my office hours, I kind of been doing the same, worked on board reports, sent out emails, made calls, recruited students. As for my meetings, events, and presentations, I added them here. I think that I didn't do a lot, but at the same time, I forgot to add upcoming ones. So we do have the winter orientation tabling, which will be happening January 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. So I sent out an email to the board to see who can volunteer for those dates. And then I did say that to respond by Friday, 4 p.m. But that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mesa? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next board report. Yes, Natalie Andrade-Loniguez, Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Thank you, Chair, and hello to everyone. I will emphasize we made it. We're almost there. Good luck to everyone on their finals. One thing I really want to emphasize from my special note is the Hornet Escort program. I know a lot of us are staying late on campus. The ARC is open 24 hours, 7 days a week, so please utilize this program. It's available 24/7, and the number is on the board report, and we've been posting it around social media. So please utilize that program if you're here late at night and you don't feel safe and you want to be escorted home or to your car. Okay, let me jump into some internal committee updates. So Student Academic Senate, since the last board report has met on November 18th and December 2nd. On the November 18th, we had a presentation by the Director of Social Sciences and Interdisciplinary Studies, Veronica, on the Academic Policies Committee. She served as my designee, and she gave us some update on the priorities that we're working on. They're working hand in hand with the Academic Policies Committee on the grading policy and the attendance policy. So she gave us some updates on what they're doing with those policies and looking and how they're going to revise them. And we also gave some feedback on both of those policies and some implementations that we'd like to see. And then on December 2nd, it was our final meeting of the semester, and we just worked in our subcommittees, reviewing policy, seeing how we can wordsmith it and suggest it back to Faculty Senate. and just gave some final announcements to the committee. University committee updates, so I sit on Faculty Senate Executive and Faculty Senate. Faculty Senate Exec, as usual, we meet every Tuesday, and we just work to prepare and condense information for the Faculty Senate. The majority of the discussion for the past few weeks have been program proposals and committee appointments, so a lot of the majors are switching the requirements in units or in classrooms, so they're doing a lot of switching in those type of areas, and it's a lot of like wordsmithing and making sure all the units add up, so it's just a lot of information that's been going through the Exec and Faculty Senate of proposals. Faculty Senate, same thing, our discussion has been about program proposals, and right now we're having an emphasis on the graduate programs and how those are looking and how we can make them more effective for our graduate students. So that's what we've been working on and talking about our enrollment numbers. My strategic priorities that I am on, all of them are completed for this semester. I just have 3.3.4 for the next semester, that's coffee with commuters. But I'm very happy to announce that both of the links on MySAC State were added about a few days ago, and you guys should all see that on your MySAC State. We've been working on this since the beginning of the semester, so it's glad to see that the university is more than willing to work with us and see that implementation. So I'm really, really glad about that, and the CARES website as well is also being updated. So our words matter, we're influential, so I'm really glad to see that happen. Some office hours, same thing, just meeting with my designees, other students, answered emails, phone calls, worked on legislation, and prepared for my presentation for today. And some events that I'd like to highlight, the student-led discussion on campus sexual assault that happened on November 18th was extremely, extremely powerful. It was a privilege to be a part and work with all the university departments to put this together. You really felt the students' voice in there, so I really want to thank everyone who went and made it known that we need a change, and I'm glad to see that our administrators are taking a foot to make that change on campus. And just checking in with all my directors was really awesome to see, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Natalie? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna pause on our board reports, and we are going to present our last item, which is 2022-23-1275, Ayugulan Pacheco Campbell resolution in support of retirement for the Associated Vice President of Student Health and Counseling Services, Dr. Joy Stewart James. Is there a motion? Adol?
I move to approve 2022-2023-1275 Ayugulan Pacheco Campbell resolution in support of retirement for Associated Vice President of Student Health and Counseling Services, Dr. Joy Stewart James.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded many times. Is there any discussions? Adol?
Hi, Dr. Joy. The ASI Board of Directors wanted to write a resolution in support of your retirement that's coming up soon. So with that being said, I'm gonna read it out loud. Whereas Associated Student Inc. at Sacramento State, ASCS US is the role representative voice of more than 31,500 students at Sacramento State. And whereas ASCS US recognizes Associated Vice President, AVP, of Student Health and Counseling Services, SHCS, Dr. Joy Stewart James' retirement after 15 years of hard work for the students, staff, and faculty at Sacramento State. Whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James began her college career at Community College, then transferred to Florida International University, received her master's degree from the University of Oregon and doctorate from the University of Texas at Austin. And whereas after 15 years of overseeing the Student Health and Counseling Services, she has stewarded a lot of projects, including overseeing the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, data, spearheading public health campus response to the COVID-19 pandemic, working with Dr. Ann Edwards, former Sacramento Public Health County Officer, and shouldering fiduciary responsibilities to the students at Sacramento State, taking extra taking on extra responsibility during the pandemic, securing vaccine distribution before any other sites were able to, working constantly with the state of California to ensure we could be a community vaccination site, and spearheading a safe return to campus along with others. And whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James accepted this position at Sacramento State to view patients through a student lens, which is the reason why she came to College Health after working in a hospital setting. And whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James received a Presidential Gold Medal Award by Sacramento State President for working hard during the pandemic to ensure student success, and whereas she has accomplished many things during her time, including turning 9 exam rooms into mental health counselor rooms at the Well for students to have access so that their mental health is prioritized. And whereas many students, alumni, and staff see Dr. Joy Stewart James as someone that is principled, has integrity, is driven to get things done, and has amazing leadership skills. And whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James demonstrated an extraordinary dedication to Sacramento State, its employees and students, she ensured that employees and students were able to be vaccinated on campus, prioritizing employee comfort. She displayed a willingness and ability to go above and beyond to secure access to vital resources during the pandemic for students, staff, and faculty at Sacramento State. And whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James continued to work with previous and current board members on mental health issues to try to cut down any barriers that students may have. And whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James welcomed students' opinions and embraced their thoughts with open arms, allowing our current and former ASI presidents to be looped in with anything that is related to the student population. And whereas Dr. Joy Stewart James is retiring on December 16, 2022, and let it be resolved that Dr. Joy Stewart James is loved and her legacy will always be here to guide whomever is placed in the AVP position. And let it be resolved that ASCSUS recognizes Dr. Joy Stewart James through her leadership as the AVP, someone who has left a memorable mark on the personal and professional development of the ASI Board of Directors to help support the student body at Sacramento State. And let it be resolved, we acknowledge the tremendous work that she has accomplished at Sacramento State, and let it be resolved that ASCSUS hereby presents this resolution to Dr. Joy Stewart James as a token of appreciation for her passion and commitment to students, ASCSUS, staff, faculty, and lastly, let it be resolved that this resolution be distributed to Sacramento State President Robert S. Nelson, Chief of Staff Sarah, Chief of Staff Sarah Belinsky, Deputy Chief of Staff Christian Tudor, Interim Vice President of Academic Affairs and Provost Carlos Nevares, Vice President of Student Affairs Ed Mills, Vice President for University Advancement Lisa Cordoza, Chief Financial Officer and Vice President for Administration and Business Affairs Jonathan Goldman, Vice President for Inclusive Excellence University Diversity Officer Mia Settles-Tedwell, Chief Information Officer and Vice President Information Resources and Technology Mark Hendricks, Senior Associate Vice President University Communications Janine Wong, Associate Vice President Public Affairs and Advocacy Nathan Dietrich, Executive Director, University Initiatives and Student Success, Jim Jerkana, Senior Associate Vice President, Human Resources, Michelle Martin, Executive Director, University Enterprise, Inc., Jim Reinhardt. And with that being said, Joy, I reached out to two past ASI presidents, and they had some quotes that they shared with me that I wanted to share. I'll start with Noah, who was the ASI president 2020 and 2021. He says, "Joy exemplifies what it means to be a hornet. Regardless of the challenges that arose, Joy stepped up to the occasion and put our campus, its students, faculty, and staff in the best position possible. Joy ensured that our student body had a seat at the table even during the most difficult conversations and made sure that our questions were answered and the student voice listened to." This next quote is from Samantha, who was the ASI president in 2021, 2022. "Dr. Joy Stewart James is a champion in student health and wellness. She has always been receptive to our students and the issues that they face. While working with her, she has showcased open communication between administration and students, actionable solutions to improve student wellness, and overall kindness." And now if the chair allows, I would like Salma to say something as well.
I'll allow it.
Your retirement is bittersweet because I've had the privilege to work with you on mental health, and your leadership, your guidance, and the amount of work that you tirelessly do for students is amazing. And I just want to thank you for your service. Thank you for always putting students at the forefront, and thank you for making Sacramento State the example for all other campuses in the CSU. I see how hard you work, and I hope that I can make this promise that we will see increased access of mental health services for our students. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, and it was an honor working with you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion, comments, questions? Chris?
As a health science major, your long-standing service and dedication to the community here is really inspiring. And I'm really appreciative for everything you've done. You've impacted so many lives here. Thank you so much.
Adam?
I also wanted to say thank you for always being there for me when I worked at Student Health and was lost, and for always being there, even though when you were busy, to always help me with any communication stuff that I needed and I couldn't get Laura to answer because she wasn't here.
Is there any other questions, discussion, comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to put it to a vote. All in favor of 2022-23-1275, Ayugalan Pacheco Campbell, resolution in support of retirement for the Associated Vice President of Student Health and Counseling Services, Dr. Joy Stewart James, please raise your hand. All right, you may lower your hand. All opposed? All right, the item has been adopted unanimously.
Okay, I had no idea why I was coming over here.
Can I have you in the mic? Right there. I need to get technical there. I just want everybody to hear.
So this was a surprise. I guess I'd like to say it's been my pleasure. I didn't think this would be hard. It has been a pleasure. What I can tell you is, sorry, I do have a little laryngitis, so that's out there. Working with all of you students over the years has really been the most inspiring. It has been the most rewarding, and you have helped shape what we are today. It was really what we wanted to do was create a health and counseling center that was for the students, by the students, used by the students, and so we couldn't do that without you being involved. And so very early on, prior to building the well, that is when I started, really meeting and finding out what students need. And through this whole 15 years, that has been really some of the most rewarding time. And I can honestly say we wouldn't be what we are today without you. So continue to work with the health center, continue to make your voices heard, continue to challenge the delivery and what we do and that sort of thing, because it is a constant evolution, and I hope that you can be proud of your health center. We are there for you. That is that is our purpose. So thank you. That was very, very special. And I have so enjoyed my time here.
How about another round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I'm really going to my meeting.
See you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to go back to our board reports. Our next board report is going to be from Bill, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Junior Students.
Good afternoon. That was really special. She was genuinely surprised. I actually left my copy of this in the printer, so I appreciate your help. As usual, Monday through Friday, when I'm not in meetings, I'm available, but to students walking in, it's not been a problem. I mean, oh, you're on point. Thank you. Not been a problem. So I appreciate that. And sort of, I guess, use the word echoing with you leaders have mentioned about finals and taking care of yourself is really, really important. And it's not, staying hydrated, I know Sandra talks about that a lot, it's really important. I mean, we're made of water, so it's important to replenish that. But for many, I know I've met with quite a few folks who have really struggled this semester on a lot of levels, be it food insecurity, lack of rest. I've mentioned this before, if we haven't thought about it, we need to, that there are freshmen on this campus who have not been in groups or around people since they were sophomores in high school. And there are also staff and faculty who have gone through the same challenges. So those are barriers that we need to overcome and work together and communicate when it's necessary. So anyway, obviously I'm not gonna list all the meetings and things. Since I last spoke, met with my direct reports multiple times. Obviously, Ed, Vice President of Student Affairs, had various AVP level meetings and then student level meetings. I do have 7 direct reports who manage different areas, and so there's just some intricacies there in terms of a lot of the things that are happening on campus, in particular in housing and dining services and some other areas that we've had to navigate through. I've met some new colleagues at UEI and some other areas, which has been exciting to sort of partner with folks and faculty as well. Attended the open forums for the MCC coordinator candidates, student engagement and success all staff meeting. I've been included on a SMUD ambassador group with career services, which is interesting and noble. Some of the other things I'll hit on, I did have my first meeting with interim VPA Carlos Navarra, Dr. Carlos Navarez. Attended CSU events, in particular HR recruitment training sessions. I'm part of an A2B4 Pathways work group now, which has been interesting, as well as affordable housing pro forma, early start work group, and a CSU K16 collaborative. All this has happened very quickly, and also part of the UHS UEI collaborative. Some of the student events, student sexual assault discussion, which was excellent. Student affairs, I do have a mentee now through our assault leadership mentoring program, so I had a meet and greet. I met with sports club leadership as well as took my first tour of the well, which was exciting, and I actually got to stand in that garden, which was great. I can't wait to see when the lights come in. Other than that, met with President Checo, which was wonderful. Had lunches as usual with several students, and just want to share some things as you'll see in the notes the Career Center asked me to pass along with some events happening in the spring that will be posted on Handshake soon. So it's been and also University Housing Services. Today's the 6th or the 7th. So today's the deadline for North Village housing applications. But appreciate you all. It's been a good 3 months for me as I've come into this state, into this institution. You all have been wonderful, and I think you all are great. That's it. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Bill? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next board report. Gina.
I have a short one. Just a reminder to you and your constituents, it's priority registration, or it's early registration time, but it does close this Friday, so be sure that folks are getting in. We talked about folks not registering on time, and then it doesn't open up again until January 12th. So again, for those folks who need to clear some holds, get it done as quickly as possible so they can get in that priority registration group. I come from the place of holds, so I always want to remind everyone to clear your holds. And then I did want to note on here a really important piece of information regarding middle class scholarship. Middle class scholarship is, as it sounds, it's a scholarship for students who and their families who fall into a particular financial situation that make them considered middle class. Not our most needy students, not students who have all that they need, but somewhere in between, and they are awarded through the California Student Aid Commission. Well, there were some late changes made by the Student Aid Commission that affected how the monies could be dispersed. And so we likely will not, it's a week away, have disbursements in the fall. And there's concern that the delay will extend a little bit into the spring. So we are working, a bunch of different groups are working from the Chancellor's office and all the local campuses trying to determine how we can affect getting the fall disbursements out as quickly as possible. And we could even do that, when you're all off for winter break, potentially and get money to students as quickly as possible if we can figure out how to do that. So we know it's a problem. If you're hearing from your constituents, it's a problem. We're working on it, and we are having meetings and trying to figure out how to affect that as quickly as possible. And that's all I have. I did put a picture in there of the basketball game and with my colleagues when they invited staff and faculty to come join the first basketball game. So thank you for your time, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Gina. Is there any questions on Gina's board report? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move to. Mark was over there getting ready. I was like, I'm not wrong, right? Sorry, Sandra, go ahead.
This is working, right?
Yes.
I want to do a little bit of a different than just going through what my month is looking like. I really do want to give 3 separate shout outs to the board members because of events and things that have really impacted me. First, I want to shout out to Lessa for her all years events. It was really well done. So I wanted to make sure that I said in supporting particularly mental health for our students, which we know continues to be a problem. Second shout out is to Natalie. I was super impressed with making sure she finished the priority of putting on the landing page for all Sac State students Victoria's website and ASI links. I know they're going to reconfigure it, but I know you're going to stay on top of it to make sure that they stay prominent on all students' landing page. And finally, for Salma's work on Timely MD. It continues to be an issue, and Timely MD, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is the telehealth for mental health services on campus, and it continues to be a battle to try to get the contract operational here at Sacramento State. There is, as Salma mentioned, a PERB case, but there's also now legislation introduced. So she went to action today when I gave her the heads up, and hopefully we'll be seeing Lobby Corps and CSSA work in tandem to see the the progress of this legislation.
We will.
So shout outs to the board. Quick updates. I have a short board report myself as well. I've almost completed my one-on-ones with everyone. The ones I want to highlight was we had a tremendously successful turkey food baskets. We collected 150 for students and 50 for a community partner. We succeeded, went over our fundraising for the turkeys. We fundraised $9,800 for this effort. So every student not only got the full basket, but a $30 gift card to purchase a turkey. So they got full, fantastic to know. The food pantry, just again, I'd like to provide numbers for you all. The food pantry had 1,557 visits in November, but we were closed 3 days, so it really tracks with basically on par with last month, except that because we're seeing 100 students a day. So if you could see it, the 3 days we didn't see students, you could literally see that we're missing the 300 students. So it's completely tracking our numbers are staying steady. Peak Adventures continues to go. I'm proud to say that we had a 90% go rate for all our scheduled trips, which is I'm really proud to keep that because we want to make sure our offerings are popular with students. So wanting to make sure that students are going out on our trips. Government Office, great, I say great kickoff events, great all years events, wrapping up the semester with the check-ins. And the Aquatic Center is entering their quiet season, which is their grant application season. They're applying for their DBOG grant annual report, and they take the time to do a lot of the administrative work during this season. Just a list of events, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Sandra? Okay, seeing none, we are going to be moving forward to our next board report. Just Mark.
Okay, real quick, I'm not even going to talk about that first one, that's about audit. I think you're pretty much done with audits for right now. I'll talk about it again in the springtime. The next one is Perfect Minds. I talked about that at the last board meeting about the POS system. It was supposed to go live today, December 7th, but it's been extended to next week, December 14th. Good reason for it, both, Perfect Minds and our committee agreed that it'd be best to do a little more testing, so to make sure everything's really in place before we go live with the POS system, which affects our student shop, Peak Adventures, and Aquatic Center. The other item, sorry, it's an audit. The 5500 audit, which is our retirement program audit. I have up there 403 pension program. We don't have a pension program, so strike that. It's a retirement program. PERS is a pension program. But since we have over 100 participants in our retirement program, we have to follow the law and get audited on this. So we hire a firm. We used Chavez last year, was the first time we used it, accounting firm, which is just over the Guy West Bridge here. And we're going to decide if we want to stay with him or let it go back to our new auditors that we just hired. He's actually about $6,000 cheaper, so we might continue on there. And there's not going to be any impact. We also talked to CLA on that, and they aren't going to, they're fine, if we take that away from them and give it to this one. So we'll decide next year. But right now, he was available, and he'll do our retirement audit and our pension audit. Any questions?
Is there any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark. All right, now our last board report, we have Miguel. Miguel, whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. I just really quick want to piggyback off of what everyone else has been saying. We made it through the semester. I would just like to say that as a transfer student myself, this is my first semester here at Sac State. It's been very challenging, but I did it. And I would like to, I guess extend that to everyone else. I hope you guys have been doing well with your studies and your finals and everything, and let's just keep strong, So in terms of the CSSA, there was no CSSA plenary meeting this month. The next CSSA plenary meeting will be on January 28th to the 29th of next year. The last one that we did was held in Cal State Fresno around November 5th and November 6th, where we discussed a bit about policy agendas, the co-sponsoring, improvement of the co-sponsoring draft legislation for the satisfactory academic progress requirements, closing up honor visits, and more talk about continuing the search for the student trustee for the 2023 to 2025 term. If you guys want to know more information, I made a whole report. You can always ask me, and I can email you that report. So for the lobbying corps, we've had 2 meetings since the beginning of the month. On November 17th, we had a guest appearance from our former ASI president and Assembly Fellows member, Noah Marty. Marty talked about his experiences at Sac State. He used to work in the Office of Governmental Affairs. He then became an ASI Vice President of University Affairs, and he ultimately became the ASI President from 2020 to 2021. He also talked about his experiences as an Assembly Fellow and how he was able to gain valuable experience and skills working at the Capitol as a fellow. So that meeting went very well, and he gave us tips on how we can apply for the Assembly Fellows program during that meeting. Our next meeting was held this past Thursday, December 1st. We had a guest appearance from the CSU student trustee, Maria Linares. She gave an overview of the system-wide processes within the CSU system, as well as the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Trustees and how these policies get implemented. She also further talked about her role as a student trustee and how her role directly impacts the decision-making within the Board of Trustees. And she talked about the search and process for students to become a student trustee. And she emphasized the importance of student voice and student advocacy. So she's a very strong student advocate, and I'm proud to have her as my student trustee representing me. And the student trustee application deadline is due January 30th at 5 p.m. for those of you who are interested in potentially wanting to apply for a student trustee. For OGA, basically for this month, I've given a total of 4 presentations as part of my Jobs Like SMART goal in order to essentially educate students, staff, and faculty alike on what the CSSA is, what my responsibilities are as a CSSA liaison, and how I serve as a bridge between ASI and Sac State's involvement within the CSSA. I was able to deliver the presentation to the
30
board.
seconds.
To the board. A lobby core committee meeting, the EOP Student Leadership Conference, and the Wellness, Safety, and Sexual Assault Awareness Committee. I'll just skip forward a little bit. We also had a meeting with Associate Vice President of Public Affairs and Advocacy, Nathan Dietrich, on November 16th. Me along with Sidra Niwas and Nikita Akimov, who are our OGA representatives. We talked about the strategic priorities that involve ASI board members, assisting OGA.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Miguel? Z?
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Miguel?
Yes, really quick. So we just talked about the strategic priorities as well as areas of interest in both Lobby Corps and city ambassadors. Lobby Corps want to focus their interest in campus safety, DACA, undocumented student support, mental health, disability rights, and accommodations. These are the themes in the Lobby Corps Committee, which may help us prepare for March's Advocacy Day. City ambassadors decided to focus on potentially holding a resource fair that involves research student resources, mental health resources, transportation, and other resources. And I've also had the wonderful opportunity to attend Lexa's All Years event. I tabled there representing ASI and OGA. This was an event that involved speed venting among other students and essentially reaffirming the theme that it's okay to not be okay. We had other campus partners and resources there, from the CARES office to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. And yeah, and then civic challenges. We currently have 785 points with all of the tasks that we've done. I will send you guys an extra email out later on today, and then I will also follow up with you next semester for the challenges that are going to be happening next semester for the civic challenge. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Miguel? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move forward to announcements. Is there any announcements? Veronica?
Like I mentioned at the last board meeting, the Arab Student Union at that time raised $800, but I just wanted to give the final update. They raised $1,000 for the food pantry, as well as 118 cans and dry food. So I just wanted to announce that 'cause it's pretty cool.
Gina?
In retrospect, this probably should be on my board report, but I tend to focus on financial stuff because, you know, I'm the chief financial officer designate, so. But since Natalie talked about it, I thought I should give an update. I chair the Administrative Barriers Holds Group, it's like a task force. And I wanted to provide some clarity on the hold that you had mentioned, which is a parking citation hold. And so on recommendation from the committee and going through all the processes, including approval by cabinet, the parking citation hold that results from having still owing your parking citation. If you have the amounts that are equivalent to 1 to 4, you don't have a hold. But if you have the amount equivalent to 5 or more, which is $355 or more, which is 5 citations or more unpaid, then the hold does remain. So there is a hold still if you have parking citations. It is 5, but the rest of them were removed, and we were able to execute that before spring prior registration began on November 14th. So anybody who was affected by that hold didn't have that hold to affect their spring registration. And then information is going out to those students to let them know that while that hold doesn't remain, the amount does still remain and can be referred to to re-registration. I had to think about what that meant. It was, you know, for when you register your car with the state of California, it is referred there if it remains unpaid and would have to be paid before you can get your car registration. So that was that announcement, and thank you for bringing that up. If it makes sense, since it does make sense, I will bring forward the other recommendations from the committee, and I'll put them in my board report next time so that we can keep you updated on what the task force is accomplishing. And then my second announcement, of course, as usual, is go to the football game on Friday. And I was wrong, and happily so. They are providing those free tickets, but you do have to go click a button to get them, so you have to claim the ticket, but they are free. Usually for playoffs, they're not. So we encourage all students to attend 7:30 on Friday night. And I know you have a special opportunity for the Well Zone, so I hope you take advantage of that as well, if that makes sense for you as well. So go Lions.
Go Lions. Thank you, Gina. Is there a question? Sam?
I'm sorry, Gina, I know this is getting in the weeds of this specific hold, but are these parking citations in the city of Sacramento or just parking citations for our campus?
Gina?
They're just parking citations for our campus. So we are, as a member of our county and a member state, we are under California Vehicle Code. So that's why we charge, and that's why we have to patrol appropriately and within disabled spaces, et cetera. All those things are part of California Vehicle Code. And so we adhere to a California Vehicle Code. Surprisingly, at 5 citations or more, they have something called the scofflaw law, which is my favorite word to say, scofflaw. You're scoffing at the law. And when you have a scofflaw, and out in the city, if you have 5 or more citations, and they are registered with the city, and they see that, they can boot your car, or they can tow your car. We have never done that at Sac State. We can, by California Vehicle Code, we can. We never have done that. That is far too aggressive for our intentions. And I do want to remind you that if you do have to run in for a final or something, and you park somewhere you're not supposed to, except if it's a disabled spot, don't appeal those. You can appeal. You can say I made a mistake, or I forgot, or I brought the other car, I'm using my mom's car, whatever the situation might be. Appeal those, because many of them are waived. They waive out or appeal more than 50% of the citations that are actually received on campus. But it is just campus. It is just campus. We don't look across the whole city and see if you've ever had citations over the Sac State hole for you. It is just for our campus.
Thank you. Are there any other, Rob?
So it's so rare to have a room of majority students for me, so I'm very excited about that. And thank you all for staying as long as you did. I know the meeting is a little dry, but I want to speak directly to you about an opportunity. So the university works very hard to make sure that you all feel like you are being paid attention to, supported, that you matter and you belong. That doesn't mean we always get it right. So what we're doing is we're having a pitch competition that is Shark Tank style, where students can come and give an idea or a solution to an equity, diversity, inclusion issue that's happening on campus that the rest of us are not aware of. And what you'll be able to do is pitch that idea to off-campus organizations and leaders who may potentially be your employers in the future. So if you go to CSUS Spring Symposium and you just Google those words, you'll be able to see that there's a proposal site where you can submit an idea, and if you're accepted, you can come and you can do it in front of a live audience at the symposium on March 28th. So we'd really encourage you not only to apply yourselves, but also to spread the word a little, because I know there are things that we just don't know yet, and your voice and your agency can help you become a real life change maker here on campus. So hopefully you'll take a look, and if you have a great idea, we'd love to hear it. That goes, of course, to the board as well.
Thank you, Rob. Is there any other announcements? Lexa?
I wanted to quickly announce once again that winter orientation is happening in early January. So I sent out an email. I put a deadline there by Friday, 4 p.m. So I know that it's winter break, but we have to connect with our constituents, especially because we still have committees to fill, and many of our constituents don't even know what ASI does completely or what our office does. So we want to keep informing them. I also wanted to quickly announce again that the committee I chair is working on several events. If you would like to be looped into this conversation, please let me know. I want to include as like everyone that I can because it's important. And as well, it's important for us to make sure that we're the Wellness, Safety, Sexual Assault Awareness Committee is working on these initiatives, especially if you're a student and would like to be heard. I'm definitely open for it. I know that the staff and faculty perspective is different from a student, so I definitely would like to work with as many people as I can. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Chris?
Yeah, so Chief Financial Officer and Vice President for Administration and Business Affairs, Jonathan Bowman, and his office donated 217 COVID tests to the ASI Food Pantry. ASI is very grateful for this donation, and the COVID tests are available for students at the ASI Food Pantry until supplies last.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Bishop?
So I am currently looking for students for ASI Finance and Budget and ASI Scholarship Committees. I do want to fill them during either the first legislation cycle or second by latest, and want to be done so I don't have to put legislation every time like I did this semester. So if you know anybody who is interested in finance or who's interested in grading scholarships and wants to learn how that works, please send them my way. I am going to start promoting it more, and I'm going to send it on all the dean's biz lists. I'm going to ask ASI for it. Also, for strategic priority, there's $3,785 left after today's legislation. I did talk to everyone and ask them if they need the money. You know who you are. Please start putting in legislation and put me on there. Send me emails. Because according to my calculations, there would only be $785 left if everyone puts in a legislation for what they said it would. Also, I'm going to announce it one more time. The SEED Award will open on December 19th and will close on February 3rd. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Miguel?
City Ambassadors meeting will be happening tomorrow in the Capitol Room on the 3rd floor of the Union from 4:30 to 5:30. I'm sorry? 4. My mistake, 4. Our chair, Nikita Akamov, will be chairing that meeting, and he has an additional message for the board, saying that the annual chess conference is coming up next semester on March 6th. We're going to be opening the application for 20 students to receive scholarships and attend the chess conference. Applications are soon going to be open until February 10th. We'll be sending promotional material and more information your way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Tabling, like Alexa said, we need help in that, and that's a good way to kind of, put a face to the name. So be sure to please just contact our email by the time. And then plus, tabling gets a lot of fun because, there's students come and they're actually very, very curious. I remember the tabling that we did at the beginning. I remember what I think it was for first year orientation and for transfer. Put a face to the name, let them know who we are early before they get here. So let's all come together as a team and do that. Mid-year retreat, January 19th, the Aquatic Center, times and I guess more details to come soon. No office hours next week. Go past your finals and have a good winter break. This is our last board meeting, so next Wednesday no board meeting. And then I will be sending out an email, if not by the end of this week, maybe the end of next week, on your office hours for the spring. If you know your class schedule and you know what your office hours are going to be, send them to me, reply to that email, but we need to have those before the second week of the spring semester. So just be thinking about that, and if there's any problems, just make sure to communicate it to me. Classroom and club presentations, I know that there's been a little bit of a problem with that. Reach out for help. I know that there's some board members that were short, but now they're not because they reached out for help, and some of us are connected with either professors, clubs, or other organizations that you can go present to. It's doable. It's just 7. Okay, so if you need help, just let us know, and we can all come together and help you. That's all I got.
For those in the audience, if you want to tell us, as far as the presidential search goes, on what kind of president, university president you would like, there will be an open forum on February 3rd, and there'll be information released next semester for you all. But if y'all want to give your opinion and tell the search committee what president you're looking for or what qualities you want the next president to have, I would suggest you all go and attend and share your thoughts. For the board, Trustee Arambula is actually coming to meet with us specifically on February 2nd. If you all want to give your opinion to the trustee, please attend the meeting and support your Sacramento State students. I also want to give a thank you to Jennifer for your guidance and your support this semester. You will be going on sabbatical, so we won't see you next semester, but it's much needed rest, and I hope that it's an amazing experience for you. But yeah, please come back. Please come back and support us again because we love having you on our board.
Thank you.
And that's all I got for y'all, other than please pass all your finals. You got this. We're almost done.
Awesome. If there are no more announcements, I will adjourn this meeting at 4:15.